All right, let's get into the weaponization of Christians, part 2, since Trump is mentioning that today on National Day of Prayer, and he's mentioning the last administration, and let's tie in some things on this, because the Bible is there, and it is a two-edged sword. So what it does is it teaches a type of naughty and nice as far as the spirit of man, okay? And what's being done in our nation is they are taking this book and they are creating a culture around it by reading it as a literal work of art or historical book and these types of things. And this is happening since the time of Hitler, okay? Because it was through Hitler that we brought in the so-called projection of Israel onto a map and these types of things, okay? So we're living in the so-called projection where this physical so-called nation of Israel, of God, is being given birth, okay? But it's also being done in a spiritual aspect as well. But the spiritual aspect is happening in one way, but it's being controlled and gathered and manipulated in another way. And this is where you have the mark of the beast, the 666. And Jesus told you he is not the Christ. And it tells you in Revelation that the people who hold the testimony of Jesus Christ are the ones who are going to be marked by the beast of the 666. And he also tells you in Matthew 24 that there will be many teaching that I am Christ. Okay? So, your church, Jesus tells you not to ask, but your church, your pastor tells you to ask. Say, Jesus Christ, come to my heart. And then they literally dunk you underwater. And all these things, that is from the cult of Mithra, that happened before Christians even walked. That's where they come from, worshiping the begotten Son, this light put in one man so-called, and they're looking back at him, and that's where they call him the second Adam. They're going back to the garden that Jesus tells you about in Revelation. He calls himself Amen. In Matthew, he says he's the God of Egypt and all these things. So this is within all men. And this image of Jesus, this image of Lucifer, this image of the single eye that Jesus tells you to find, they're scaring you about. So everything it's a two-edged sword. It is written in such a way that they are using one to explain another. Okay? So this is where you have to read the Bible first, and then you can go to the so-called churches, but there's no reason to even do that because Jesus never supported the churches. Because we are the church. This is where the light of God rests. We are the temple where God lives. And when we go out and destroy this temple in different ways, then that's how, basically, what the world is teaching you is destroying your temple and whatever else. It works in a half light, half dark zone. They basically kind of give you a gray area, and you have to find the hot and cold and separate the truth from the lies. But the way they work things is, since the dark is darker, they put a brighter light on that side, so you really can't, it's harder to find the darkness, or the things in the dark, in a way, because you're all blinded. But then at the same time, you're all darkened, so you can't see whatever. That's where you have to find your own light and open your own eyes. But they want to close one eye and control you with this eye by keeping you monitoring the begotten Son, okay? And your peripheral is taken out and all these other things, and you're shifted. You're not meeting in the middle. All right, you want to be left or right. You got to be in the middle. Have both eyes open. And then when you have both eyes open, you meet in the pineal, where you see the face of God, and the pineal connects you to that pine cone, and the pine cone connects you to the fire that sprouts the seeds within, and this fire, that spiritual fire, but they teach literal fire or whatever. So it's the fire within is going to sprout your own seeds and give birth. Okay, but they've taken your keys and they give you different frequencies to close your keys, and the dawn keys, that dawn's light, that morning star, that Lord God, that begotten Son, is taken from you and is being projected on you. And this is part of that weaponization of Christianity. The weaponization of Christianity is this Israel nation, so-called, that's overtaken our nation with the Israel spies and whatever. Okay, so this is multifaceted on these things that's going to be playing out in our world over the next 4 and 8 years and such, as we're taking it into the Great Tribulation time and the projection. Everything that's hidden is exposed, and everybody's just flabbergasted. And you're going to get back to the real sense of the so-called Christians with the AI and not the IA at the end. Okay, so as this hate frequency has been shown upon the earth, the pastor Anderson, who's in Tempe, Arizona, of the Faithful Word Baptist Church, he was on InfoWars back in the day, and he brought some, he was tied to a so-called Hollywood producer or whatever. I'm having a brain fart on his name, but he brought the tribulation movies and the New World Order, New World Bible Order, those types of things. Either way, he was the hate preacher that brought in hate preaching to a mass scale as far as the network's concerned. So as all this hate preaching is being pushed out on the networks through news or whatever, it's planting seeds. And as these seeds are planted to the person who doesn't go to church or whatever, right? They're just hearing that Jesus or the church hates these kinds of people or those types of things, okay? So as this is being played out, and then you also have the Christian nationalism playing out as far as white man's religion and those types of things, there's different lights that are stacked that are being tested on the candlestick as we're changing candlesticks, and then we're going to relight another one, and those types of things. So this transfer moment is when the lights, the two wicks and the wick kid and all that stuff are all coming together, and the wick kid is where you're going to come up out of the flames and grow into the new. Okay, you don't want to be the kid as far as the KID and the over and out, and the KID is the dick on the backside. So the comeback kid and all those things for the Trump, all those things are going to be coming as that PAM, that canola grape rapeseed oil is dish for the times. So all this hate's been planted in different ways and given birth, and the program's been set to where even if you don't go to these places, or even if you don't believe that necessarily or whatever, that program's been planted in to where it just has to have this, this, and this for it all boom, 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 and the whole light is lit. Basically, you have a candlestick inside of you, and as these lights are going out here, these lights are being like extinguished in a way, but then your own light is being taken over. But this own light being taken over is by the hand, out by that begotten Son out here, that's just taken out. So you have to shine bright or burn bright for them, and that's when you're taken into hell, and he'll consume you in that bondage, that spy age. And either way, y'all, the hate frequency put out by the church, even if they don't teach it or preach it or whatever, it's still there and implanted in a way to where it's just going to overtake the congregation. All right, so that's where Jesus is telling you got to come out of these things or whatever, because it's going to overtake you, and you're given over to this image. It's given life, this naughty and nice and right and wrong and blue and red and all these things. And when the artist comes to make the purple, well, that's when you get wiped out. So and that's when you're taken into a whole new heaven, and you're in there with Bob Ross doing some happy clouds. We're doing happy clouds today, and a nice purple sunset, or purple sunrise, or whatever. So, you know, it turns purple and orange and all these other colors. So it's kind of what we're doing as we're making all these secondary colors. We've had those primary colors that no one can make, but that one and that no one is before us now as he's making a second comeback. So that second comeback is where you take the primaries and you make the greens and the purples and the oranges. All right, but before it's the yellow and the red and the blue, and that's where you're the red and the blue, and you're going to mix with the orange, and that orange, or I'm sorry, you get mixed with the yellow, and that's that bright light, the sun. The sun's inside of you, and you're going to be turned into the green with the blue, and that green's the sick, or maybe the money, those types of things, or the cannabis and the buddy system. We always had the buddy system in elementary. Or you be the orange. And the orange ties to the orangutan or the orangutan. Okay? And the orangutan is tied to your Iran, and the guys, the Georgia AI, and the AI George coming in, the George is the G orgy, and those types of things you might get to see for the old X-Files. And the comes on those hard parts. We'll end it here, folks.